My name is Deborah Birnbaum. I'm Variety's Executive Editor of TV, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Sneaky Pete, the For Your Consideration event. I am very excited to be here. I'm a huge fan of the show, and I hope you guys are too. It's one of my favorite shows of the season. I think Amazon has a huge hit on the hands, and judging by the crowd tonight, it feels like you guys are huge fans of the show too. So thank you so much for coming. We've got the cast and the creators of the show here with us tonight. So after the screening of the pilot, which is fantastic, we're going to have a panel with them. So I hope you guys will stay and enjoy. After the reception, there's also there's also going to be a reception. There's going to be food and drinks, always my favorite part. Who doesn't like a little nosh? There's an immersive experience upstairs. If you guys haven't seen it, we invite you to take part. There's only 3 days left to enjoy it. You're going to see some of the fantastic work done by the production designers and costume designers of all of the great Amazon series that are out this season. I just had a chance to walk through it. It's really great. Amazon transformed 10 rooms upstairs that mirror scenes and immersive experiences from all of their series: Man in the High Castle, Z, the Beginning of Everything, Goliath, Sneaky Pete, Mozart in the Jungle, Catastrophe, Transparent, Patriot, I Love Dick, Just Add Magic, thank you, and Amazon Girl Story, Melly 1963, Love to Win. I got through the list. Thank you very much. The sets are really great. It's just like you're taking part in one of the shows. But again, pretend like you're in a museum. Look, don't touch, and please don't take anything home with you. So be careful, be respectful, and most of all, enjoy, take part. So you've heard enough from me. Please sit back, enjoy the show, and I'll see you on the other side. Thank you, guys. I'm back. What'd you guys think? Pretty great, wasn't it? So what do you think? Should we bring out the cast and crew? Let's start with executive producer Graham Yost. Brian Cranston, executive producer. He goes by many different names, but let's try Giovanni Ribisi. And last but certainly not least, the fabulous Margot Martindale.
That's where I really fall.
That's it. You know how to make an entrance.
Is that your chair?
Or seating in order?
Here. No, here.
Next, we're going to play musical chairs.
Respect.
But I also want to recognize there's also some fantastic members of the cast who are here with us tonight who will be around for the reception later. So please come up and chat with them. We've got Shane McCrae. Peter Garrity. Libby Bear.
That was quick. Up and down.
And Marin Ireland. I'm still trying to work out if the hair color is a spoiler for season 2.
The hair color is not a spoiler. Marin's doing a movie about the Flint water crisis right now.
So her hair is the color of the water.
Oh, nice. Nice.
That's horrible.
And that's the way this is going to go for me, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So this has to be the first TV show that started with an Emmy speech.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. This one did. Mm-hmm. Yes, I was very fortunate to be on stage And I wanted to just extemporaneously say how grateful I was, how lucky I was to find something that I really love to do. And for a long time, I wasn't that fortunate because I didn't always have that with me. And I fell in love with acting when I was in my early 20s. And I devoted to it, much like many of you. So I wanted to say thank you. And this brought me so much joy. I was nicknamed Sneaky Pete by my family when I was younger because I was always looking for the shortcut in life, trying to circumvent responsibility and accountability and that sort of thing. Fractured family life, and that's so it's okay. It's okay for a kid to find any measure to get through a challenging childhood, but maybe not so okay when you become an adult. So I had to transition. Fortunately, I found it. Anyway, I said, I hope it's never too late. If you're a Sneaky Pete, if that's you, reintroduce yourself to that thing that brought you joy. And it's never too late. You don't have to be a professional, just something that brings you love and joy. And I hope you find it. Thank you, good night. And so that, well, no. I was like, I was doing the speech again. And,
Give him an Emmy.
And that was it. And I left. The next day, I get a call from Zach Van Amberg, who is the president of Sony Television. And he says, congratulations, and thank you very much. And he said, I think that's a TV show. And I said, what? He goes, Sneaky Pete. I go, it is? What's it about? He goes, oh, I have no idea. But he did leave me with this nugget. And he said, what if you didn't find that thing that allowed you to make that change? What if you are now 35, 37 years old, and you never found anything else, and you became really good at being sneaky? What would you be? And I thought, well, you'd be a con artist. And so that's where it started. And then it generated out of that, and that's where Sneaky Pete became Sneaky Pete. So, of course, I thought instantly of Giovanni Ribisi. Anyway.
Graham, talk about the evolution of the show. It started out as a procedural for CBS. How did it end up as the streaming show we now see on Amazon?
Well, it started out as a show for CBS, as a procedural, and it ended up... I had no involvement in the pilot, but you guys shot that back in the spring of 2015.
Yeah.
And CBS passed. And so you guys went looking, and Amazon was interested, but they said, we want you to make a few changes.
Yes.
And one of the changes was, we want a big bad guy, right? That was one of the things?
They said, what it was shot as a procedural kind of show for CBS.
Sort of chasing down a skip every week.
Yeah, we don't want that. We want a serialized show, a deep dive into character. That's really what we want. So can you guys do that? If you can do that, we're interested. We said, can we do that? Of course we can. How do we do that? So that's when this young man was brought into the picture, because that's what he does and did so well.
You're at a certain age when someone calls you a young man.
Unjustified. Anyone younger than me, I call a young man.
Ah, young man.
He did so well on Justified, and I worked with Graham about, yes, Justified. I met him about 20 years ago on a beautiful miniseries called From the Earth to the Moon on HBO. And he wrote a wonderful...
Buzz Aldrin, right there, second man on the moon.
Oh, you have to bring that up, don't you? The second man.
Neil got out first. There was a discussion. That's the way it went. Sorry, Buzz.
So when it became apparent that we needed someone to take a new direction, I went to him. I said, I want you to do this. I need you to do this.
And so I watched the show, and my feeling was, it's a great concept. It's a really fun world to work in, but first and foremost, the thing that I felt that Fred Golan felt, Fred and I, he's a writer, he worked on Justified with me, we go back together to Boomtown. Michael Dinner, director, we did Justified, 6 years of directing, producing. What we all came away with from watching the pilot was, oh my God, when do you get a chance to work with a cast like that? And not only a cast like that, but a cast that is handed to you. You don't have to go and find anyone.
Yeah.
You don't have to audition or anything. No, you've just got Peter Garrity and Shane McRae and Libe and
Now you gotta name them all.
I know. Now I got to.
Once you name one, you gotta go
and Giovanni,
Yeah.
right?
Giovanni.
Margot. And frankly, there was a little bit of seeing Margot in it. It was like, yeah, of course. We had a good run together for a season on Justified, and then on The Americans. So it was concept and cast, and we really felt that there was a place to go.
Giovanni, what was it for you that what made you want to be part of the show?
Well, initially I got a phone call from my agent, and it was the sort of standard fare, but it was a show that they said Bryan Cranston is doing this thing, and I immediately jumped at it. I was sort of reticent to get into doing an hour-long episodic 22 episode commitment, because I just heard that how challenging that is, and then but it was just undeniable. And I read the script and had a meeting, and it was just sort of short order from there. It was just sort of a thing of just like, yeah, let's do this. It's pretty straightforward, I guess.
Margot, the same question for you. What attracted you to the role of Audrey?
Well, what attracted me was that Brian and David Shore called me to talk, and I was done. That's it. That's all I need. I'm very easy. And then to get this cast is like, man alive, fantastic. And then I knew Giovanni was probably going to be doing it, and then he came on, Fred and all the rest of you guys, and that was like a dream come true.
For both of you, how much did you know about the arc of your characters? Did you know the whole season and what secrets you were going to be keeping and revealing?
Of course not. No, it's sort of television is so great because it's alive, and you don't know where you're going, and you're sort of building the bridge as you go, and then you go and ask the writers, could you tell me what I'm doing? Well, maybe we'll give you a little bit of something. And then I finally said to Graham, well, here's my backstory. If you don't tell me my backstory, this is my backstory. And he went, no, stop. So it's exciting. I find television, you don't know how it's going to end, and that makes it more alive than anything else, because the movies and plays, you know the beginning and the middle and the end. And in TV, you don't know it. And I don't want to know it. It makes it more fun.
Yeah, I think it's really. I think TV is definitely a writer's medium, but from being a cast member on a show, I think it really is dependent on who's involved and the rest of the cast and the team, because a lot of the times they don't even know how the season's going to end or how it's going to come to fruition. And it becomes about, for lack of a better word, that family, And I think that, Brian has really been just like the flagpole there. He's just really put together an incredible group of people. I think I speak for all of us, maybe. We did some reshoots on the pilot, and then we got into the second episode, and I think by episode 3, we were all just like, oh my God, thank you, because we could tell that whatever happened with it, it was just something that we were all going to be able to stand behind and be really proud of. So, yeah.
And the other thing is that we, unlike other shows, we spent an enormous amount of time talking to one another, staying in touch with each other, because we didn't really have a home for a long time, and it really gave us an extremely close family feeling, which I think it's been a big plus for the show, because it was a journey getting to where to when we started.
How did you keep track of all the twists and turns for your character? Was that important to you? Did it matter?
Well, I tell you what was very interesting is that about day 3, I'm told that this takes place in 10 days. I want to say, uh-oh, how many times have I changed my hair? Wait a minute. Have I worn too many clothes in one day or 1 week? It was like we found out a little bit late. Well, not late, really, but we didn't know that it was 10 days until at the last minute.
Should we tell? You want to tell her?
Well, yeah, I think the next one takes place in 10 hours. No, and Margot's had an issue with me about not giving her information ahead of time since a certain season of Justified when I forgot to call her before the final script of the season went out, and she found out. Did your husband, you read it, you just called to your husband, you said, I die.
Yeah.
I'm dead.
And I got to work the next day and someone said, by the way, did you tell Margot? I said, oh no, I forgot. So we try to keep them a little more up to date now. A little more.
Brian, you also directed this season. What did it mean for you to step behind the camera?
I love to direct. It makes me realize how much I love acting. It's really hard. As an actor, for the actors out there, it can be self-centered. Because you're focused on what my character needs and wants and who's in my character's way, and it's very self-possessed. And a director, you need to think of all the characters that way, and the placement of the camera, and what to do, and the mood, and the light. So there's an abundance of it. It's like if you're a person who loves jigsaw puzzles, it's like that. It's like a 10,000-piece jigsaw puzzle without the benefit of seeing the picture on the box. It has to just be in your head as you're pulling the pieces together. And I find that challenging and fascinating. So. And I always make sure when I'm acting in a show that I'm directing that I sleep with myself first to get on my good side, to make sure. It's so disappointing, though. It really is.
So pretend he's not here. How would you guys rate Brian as a director?
I'm not going to look like
That's the problem. He's right here.
Brian was given, it was the 7th of the 9 episodes that we were doing in addition to the pilot. So by that time, the story of the season was really rocking and rolling, and that's really, it was sort of the episode before that, but into that it really started to pick up steam, and all the story elements were just flying along. So it was an incredibly complicated episode, and Brian was just on top of the whole thing right from the beginning, and I'm really not sucking up to the boss. No, but
You're the boss.
You're the boss.
Who's the boss?
Jeff Bezos is the boss. Amazon is the boss. And I don't know if they're listening right now, but I buy all my products through them. And it's one of those things you can tell the director knows what they're doing from the first 10, 15 seconds of the episode. And that was apparent right from the beginning of watching that episode. It was like, oh, Brian's got it completely dialed in. So it was fun. It was really fun.
And in television, you don't know what story you're going to shoot. You're booked as a director based on availability and time placement. So I had my slot, my 107, and this is the time that I'm prepping and shooting. I had no idea what the story was going to be at that time. You get it as it comes out, and then you see it and you read it, make your notes, have tone meetings with Graham and with Fred, and to truly try to understand in its completeness, how to approach it. But it's fun. Can we make an announcement?
Can we say about
Yeah.
director of
Yeah.
the second episode next season?
Director of our second episode next season is Giovanni Ribisi. It's the only way to get him to stop whining. He's a terrific storyteller, and he's on our team. We're teammates in this collaboration of storytelling, and it was a no-brainer. We had a post-mortem meeting with all the executive producers right after the first season, and this subject came up, and it was immediate, and the decision was made, and then we cleared it through our bosses, and they said yes, 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 and we brought it to him, and he said, "I'll think about it." No, but we're really excited about it and see what he's going to do. Yeah, good, man.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about season 2. What did you learn from the first season that you want to accomplish in the second season?
Wow, it's a good question. I mean, as
There's
long
so
as
many
we
different
continue to get
perspectives that
free
that
2-day
question
shipping,
could
it doesn't really matter.
coming from-
But no, we sort of targets for the second season. We don't want to spoil a lot of stuff, but there were a couple storylines that we set in motion at the end of last season, and the big one in the woods at the end when Marius has been caught by these two bad guys, and the whole idea of being Pete Murphy is now catching up with him. He thought that that was a safe haven, but now he's finding out that there's a cost to being Pete Murphy, as the guy says, we're going to burn down that farmhouse with everyone in it unless you take us to your mother and the $11 million. And suddenly, okay, that was the idea that we concocted, not knowing where that was going to take us. But what has sort of materialized for us is if the first season, our model was a long con. So the con that Marius had running, even when he was in prison to try and get back at Vince, was running a long distance and over a long period of time. The sort of model for this season, for a chunk of it, will be the heist. And the great heist movies, there's always some con at the heart of it. And so it's still a con show, but there will be something to do with a heist. It won't be, it's not Ocean's 11. It's not going to be a vault with lasers and shit. It's going to be Sneaky Pete, so hopefully it'll be also funny. But the other thing we want to explore are the consequences. So there were things that were done last season, very big, bold moves that characters made in order to save themselves and save family members from horrible fates. And those consequences will come back to haunt these characters, and so those stories will play through. And there will also be someone from the past, the family past, who will show up. Yeah.
Will there be romances?
Off the set, sure. Absolutely. It's almost guaranteed. I'm going with the prop guy. Oh man, it's torrid.
I've heard he's hot.
Yeah.
In the Sneaky Pete way, there is
in the
romance.
Sneaky Pete way, there is. There's some dalliances. Yes.
Okay. I'm getting a nod. All right.
Yes,
And that's all we'll
there
spoil.
are.
That's all we're
Yes,
getting.
there are.
As long as Audrey and Otto are okay. they're good.
Yeah, Audrey and Otto, okay. I mean, they came to me tonight and they said, can we sing a song? They want to sing a song. And they've even got the song that they want to sing. I'm not going to spoil that, because that's going to be a show-stopping moment.
You mean
this season.
in the show?
In the show.
Not
Oh, I thought you meant
tonight.
tonight.
No, not tonight.
Oh,
No.
I was ready.
I thought,
I'm getting on my chair.
No, because Shane McRae will say that the happiest 7 hours he spent on the set this season was when they were waiting out the rain in Chinatown, and Peter and Margot and Shane were stuck in a car, and Peter and Margot were singing the whole time. And he said he was crying. He was laughing so hard. It was a lot of Irish sea shanties and shit. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
a lot
just,
of lot of dirty Irish songs, I bet.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
So
It was the grandfather.
On the on the DVD?
no, I don't think there are any recordings of that weren't burned.
Right.
And nobody else would find it funny.
I'm
But
sure we
yeah,
would.
shooting all night in Chinatown in the rain.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, I'm going to turn it over to you guys for Q&A. We've got some microphones, hopefully through in the crowd. But go ahead, I'm sure we can hear you.
In episode 4, you gave an amazing speech. And I just wanted to know about the process, like how many pages was it? How many pages was that speech in episode 4, but also the writing, because those every episode
Can I-
seems to have a very impactful moment that's really layered, and how much thought process is put into that, and where do you come up with these great stories to tell? Because I've heard really original speeches, and we're at a day and age where we don't get a lot of originality anymore, and you blew me away, really. It just blew me away.
You know, that script was written by Ben Cavell, and Ben is not with us tonight. He's off doing post on a pilot that, you know, anyway. He's a writer that Fred and I worked with all the years of Justified, and he came up with this idea for this big speech, and his first draft was 8 pages long, 6 pages?
It
What do you
freaked me out, actually.
Okay, but here's the thing. So Michael Dinner reads it, Fred and I read it, and we go, Ben, you got to cut it down. You got to cut it down. And so Ben hacked and cut maybe 10 words. No, he cut about 2.5 pages out of it. So it went from 6 pages, let's say, to about 3.5. And then that next draft went out, and Brian said, yeah, I've already started to memorize the 6-page version. So why don't we just do that? You've got to trim it, you can trim it in post. And so that's why it runs as...
Well, see, and actors know this, is that once you get the goalposts and you know, it's like almost like a trapeze, is that when you memorize through repetition, but also connecting, right? Emotional connection, so you understand what your character is saying. And then once you repeat that, and then one line then starts to swing and touch the next. So if you take out the middle one, you fall because you come to a complete stop. So I said, please, no, you can't, I can't. I've already started to, learn this and just absorb this slowly. And, every actor is the same way. You look at something that's 4 pages and you go, oh my God, gee, how long is it? Oh gosh. But the more you go over it, the smaller it gets. It's like when if you were raised in the same house that you were born in, that house is big when you're a little one, and then as you grow up, you go, this house really is small. I thought it was huge, but you're bigger. And so the more you go over something, the more you absorb it, and it just seems to get more manageable and smaller. Anyway, and it was so juicy. And anytime that it's well written, I say this all the time, the hardest work that actors have ever done is on poorly written material. That's the hardest work to do, because you can't make those connections, because it wasn't thought through very carefully or cleverly. And so you naturally come to a stop, and it's like, oh, how do I get to that? It doesn't flow. But it was a beautiful flow to it, and then you forget it. If it's in the back of your head, and you say one line, the next line pops into your head, and you're grabbing that trapeze, say that line, there's the next line, well, there's the next line, because you don't want to get to the point where what is the next line? If you're thinking of your next line, you're not acting then. You're concentrating on words. And
I watched it 3 times in a row because I wanted to make sure I heard it.
you watched it 3 times in a row? Wow. Did you really? Oh, wow, it was fun. It's fun to do. Thank you for asking.
Fred, we can't tell Ben that any of this happened.
Yeah. That's our other executive producer and writer, Fred Golan. Fred, stand up for a second, will you? All right, sit down. Remember Libe went.
All right, another question?
Malcolm Jamal Warner is here.
Oh, Malcolm.
Hey. Oh my
man.
God, Mr. Bagwell.
Hey, Malcolm, how are you, brother? It's good to see you. Good.
I hope
Yeah.
It's a great
you in
actor
it.
right there.
I hope we become eagles and not shitbirds.
Good to see you.
Next question.
Really quickly,
Sorry.
getting Malcolm is the hallmark when you get a cast like this, that it just attracts great actors. And so to get Malcolm and Michael O'Keefe and Ben Vereen, and we just had great actors this season.
Yeah,
Carolina Vidra, Virginia Cole. I mean, I'm going down the list of all the names I can remember.
And we hope to have many of them back.
Yeah. So, anyway.
How close to the end of the season were you before you had your ending, before you knew how you were going to wrap it up? And was there a moment when you were sitting in the writer's room wondering, Jesus Christ, how are we going to wrap this up?
It was more, can we pull it all together? We knew what our target was. It was something we didn't really realize the nature of the long con until we were actually in the room for about a month or more. And I think it was, I can't remember who it was. Someone said, Marius has been sitting in prison for 3 years. He's been thinking of something. He wants to get back at Vince. And as soon as I heard that, I went, yeah, that's it. That's our season. And so everything then started to build around that, and we started to put pieces into position. But an amazing cast, an amazing crew. Margot Myers, our line producer, could work miracles with moving stories around and getting stuff shot here and there. So, for example, there's a scene in the pilot where Marius sits on a bench with Allison Wright, who's playing the character of Marjorie, and they have a drink of bourbon, and they're talking about Charlie, and they're talking about revenge and stuff, and that's setting up the whole season. We didn't shoot that for months. We didn't shoot that until we'd seen a cut of the second episode and said, oh, we need something in the pilot. So it was great to have that flexibility to say, okay, we're going to change course here now. That means we need to go back and shoot something for another episode. So that was wonderful. Are we down to last question? Okay. I talked too much.
No, it's okay. We had good stories. All right, who gets the honor of the last question? Let's go right there.
Two questions. Brian,
Sorry, wait for the mic. I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Melvin Jackson Jr. First question is, Brian, are you returning second season? Second one is admiration to Margot. I've been watching you since Justified. Amazing. Every time you touch the screen, and you just blow me away. I'm a fan, and I can't wait to see more of you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All he wanted to know was I was coming back. He didn't say.
We would prefer not to answer that at this point. Upon the advice of counsel, we've been told that...
There's always a possibility.
No.
I don't think he died, did he?
No. Give him a thumbs up, Vince.
Yeah.
We've had long discussions about, did they reattach the thumb? Are we going to green screen it when he does come back? Anyway.
When he does come back. Oh. The editor was paying attention, people. Just saying.
And we're
going to cross-pollinate. He's going to come back as Walter White. It was fun. It was fun playing with all these. I didn't get a chance to play with Margot and the rest of the cast very much, but it was fun to play with you and the rest of the group. I mean, I told Graham, I said, look, when it was a weird experience because we were without a captain, and I was in charge of hiring our boss, and I've never been in that position before. I'm in charge of hiring someone to be our boss. And I said, okay, as far as Vince, he said, what are the parameters with that? And I said, what did I say? I said, look, I'm going to speak to you as a producer of the show, and I want you to write the show to whatever is best for the show. If that means I'm in one episode, I'm in one episode. If I'm in all the episodes, I'm in all this, or anything in between. And then he went away, and I actually didn't know how it was going to work out. And so I was kind of surprised as it went on too, but I realized that the nature of the antagonist keeping pressure on the protagonist was pretty obvious then, and so it was kind of needed. But yeah, it's all in deliberation. There are all kinds of ideas going on. And we'll probably, someone fainted. That was good. But thank you all very much for watching the show and supporting the show. I appreciate that. I guess they're all ready to leave. They can't wait to leave over there.
Thanks, everybody.
The cast will be around.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Please don't
I
rush
can't
the
sign
stage.
alone. I'll have to do it later at the.
Thank you.